They say that form is temporary and class is permanent. But at the moment, it seems for a couple of drivers up at the top of the timing stands, those who are at the top of the championship, that form at this point seems like it could very easily be permanent. But around a track where form means everything and it can also change and bluster about on a paradigm, this is the place where the championship, which is going to be 1/3 complete over the course of this season, is going to change potentially as we welcome you to this broadcast on Forever Sim Racing. We are at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and this track shows every part up of a driver who does not know how to work himself around this place. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world. It's Jake Sperry here in the commentary box, joined by Caitlin Penny here alongside with me, Marco Barbanera on the cameras for this one. And well, Caitlin, at this point we are right at the end of practice, the staggered qualifying about to start with GTEs about to go out first. What's going to be crucial here today is talking about a street circuit, in inverted commas, which is multi-class. This is unprecedented.
Absolutely, Jake. It's very, very tight. It's very bumpy. And as a result, these drivers are really going to have to keep their wits about them when passing other drivers. It's difficult to pass here at the best of times, unless you're on that long straight, of course, from the Le Pingle hairpin down to the final chicane. But if you're anywhere else on the course, the chances are your next corner is going to be a fast chicane or another fast type of corner where aero is everything. And as a result, yeah, it's going to be a tough day to be an LMP2.
Absolutely, it'll be a tough day to be a GTE car as well when you've got really quick LMP2s blustering on by you in towards many, many parts of this course. Of course, when you look at this place, it's a very technical opening start to the lap. Then you've got a not so technical, but a more elongated middle part, as Edward Lack has already gone around here on the formation for his first lap. So already the tyres cold, struggling to get around in that section of place, and he gets himself back going again. So that's something just to keep in mind the longer that things do seem to go on, that drivers could be going around. But what we have been seeing is a dominance at the top of the GTE championship, because there's been one driver who's won every race so far, now holds an astonishing margin of 38 points at the top of the championships. How on earth do you stop number 27 PJ Clysons?
Who knows? PJ Clysons has been absolutely unstoppable so far this season, 3 from 3. Of course, today being round 4 of the championship. However, of course, we do have this one plus 8 more rounds after this. So plenty of chances to figure it out. But in terms of the championship, it's slipping away all the time. So let's watch PJ now as he starts his first flying... actually, I think he's about to finish his first flying lap of the session. Technically, no, never mind. He is going on to a flying lap. PJ through the first couple of corners and out past the river. You get a fantastic view of the St. Lawrence River on the outside there.
You absolutely.
Sorry.
No, sorry to cut your thunder there. You absolutely do get a good view of the St. Lawrence River, right up to the wall through turns 3 and 4. Then you got the long right of 5, and then you got the 6-7 chicane that comes along. This is the Vettel Button chicane, where, of course, 2011 Jenson Button coming from last to first twice to go out and win that Formula One race. But Clysons at the moment making a way to the third chicane right now. Also worth noting, sometimes will be coming in here, ladies and gentlemen, drivers who start behind the start-finish line in terms of their grid stalls, they will technically get a lap in already. So that's why you are seeing a couple of times just jumping in at the moment for a couple of outlaps on the brakes. La Pangle, the hairpin, very much the prime overtaking opportunity around this place. And Clyson's taking a big wide line through that section. He's got to be careful there that he didn't clip the barriers too much. Of course, drivers get incident points around in any iRacing event, and of course any 0x, any type of incident point in qualifying, even ones that don't register, Caitlin, they do not count for your qualifying laps. You have to have an absolutely squeaky clean lap to be set in any qualifying session, And it is worth noting that they're only going to get maybe 3 laps in that are quick in qualifying. 1:33 currently the fastest there for Ewan Marshall. And with a tap on the wall there down at the hairpin, Claessens does not set a representative time.
I was going to say there, I would be surprised if he was allowed to keep that lap. But anyway, Marshall at the top, followed by Ethan Bass now. Edward Lack goes to second, 1:33.685 for him. Little way off Marshall at present. The fastest lap in qualifying for the, in practice for the GTEs was actually Ewan Marshall. It was a 1:32.540. So for a pole time, we're potentially looking around there, although of course it's difficult to get the tyres up to temperature sometimes. And there's no guarantee that the track will allow the drivers to get that first. But anyway, Marshall at the top in this qualifying session as well, just as he was in practice. Claessens still yet to set a representative lap, as are several other GT drivers.
Well, it's very close at the top, though. You got the top 3 split by less than 1/10 of a second. Marshall from Billy Fletcher, 400ths back. And then almost a whole 10th back is Morgan Thompson, who's moved up into 3rd position. So a good time there by Morgan, looking to chase down in terms of the times. Mathies van Delden, 33.322, 2,000 says he jumps up onto the 2nd row of the grid. 3rd place at the moment. Every time becoming crucial at the moment. Hobbs and Wright, the only other 2 drivers to set a lap time here today at this point in time. 11 GTEs for the field, a little less than maybe what we were expecting, but there goes PJ Claessens. 1:32.5 beats Marshall's improvement by 1/10.5.
That's a fantastic lap from PJ Claessens. It's not quite as quick as Marshall's practice lap, but it's still the fastest lap that we've seen in qualifying, which is more important, of course. That puts him to the top of the times for now, and he's still going for it, so he still has more chances to go for it. Marshall is second. Those are a teammate duo, of course. Then we have Billy Fletcher in 3rd position. Still some drivers yet set laps. Adam Wright doesn't appear to be going on track at all, and I'm not sure that he actually will set a lap. Another driver I'm interested in is Ethan Bass, because he has been a little bit downhearted or discouraged by his pace today, saying, I don't understand how I've dropped so much pace, and how are you guys doing low 1:33s when I used to be able to keep up. But anyway, he is currently struggling, actually. He is down in 9th position, so Ethan Bass not having a good day, but PJ Claessens right back on his usual pace.
Of course, it has been a little while since we've had ourselves a bit of racing here, 4 weeks, and there have been various amounts of hot patches and hot fixes that have gone on the iRacing service, and that may be attuned to why that BMW is maybe struggling a little bit around this place today, as it is the Meraki boys, 1 and 2 in the team, currently up there at the top, as PJ Claessens has gone even faster, 32.522. Every 1,000th of a second seemingly will be helpful around this place, and he gives himself a couple hundredths more of a buffer towards his teammate behind. There's not long to go, though, for their qualifying. They've got a minute and a bit. They are allowed to finish their laps. Edward Lack on a 33.5 goes into 6th place, and his final lap will now be abandoned because of going across that first little bit there as he went through that 1-2 chicane at that point. Bass to a 34 flat, half a second off of where he needs to. Hobbs up to 7th on a 33.5. So good times in, less than a minute to go, Caitlin.
Less than a minute to go in the GTE section of the qualifying. Of course, then we will send the LMP2s, or HPDs, out onto the track to see what they can do as well. We're expecting them to be roughly, I expect the leaders will be roughly 7 or 8 seconds faster than the GTs. They do tend to be, although I have noticed there's much less of a gap today between the top GTEs and the trailing LMP2s, which could throw a spanner into the works. But anyway, as the GTE session draws to a close, PJ Claessens got damage to that car, actually, so I wonder whether he was going for another lap and maybe dinked into the wall or something. Can anyone go faster? I'm not sure, actually. I don't see anyone improving.
Well, it has been a little while. Track temp today, 27 degrees. Not necessarily all the time in the world to get it done, as timer expires here on the session for the GTE field. They will be able to finish their laps. Ethan Bass making that charge up towards that final chicane, the wall of champions there on the right-hand side. Anyone who finds themselves in there may be a champion one day. You can see that narrow, shallow run to the line from Ethan Bass, who does a 33.7, improves time, but not the position. Over the line there went one Mr. Edward Lack. Of course, he would not improve his time with what he was capable of doing. Here comes Billy Fletcher, though, and Billy on a 32.9 does also improve his time, but not position. He gets a little bit more closer there, 4/10 off of pole position. Morgan Thompson and Steve Hobbs are the only other drivers here out on lap. So Thompson making his way through that final chicane, very much using all of the curb and then some through that section as he makes that charge, but ultimately will abandon ship on the lap. So the only person who can go quicker is the 16 machine. Steve Hobbs looking to pilot his Ferrari up, moving forward there. Nice big drive up this fantastic straight, which leads to another place where overtaking is very possible. This chicane, which is all about one line suiting and all, and straight into the pits that Steve Hobbs goes. So that is everybody done in your GTE field. So PJ Clysons will put the car on pole position then for the third time in 4 races, with Ewan Marshall, his teammate, alongside. Billy Fletcher starts third with Mathieu van Delden in 4th, followed by Morgan Thompson. Edward Lack starts this one in 6th, with Steve Hobbs 7th, Louis Hanker 8th, Ethan Bass 9th, Jonas Gillis 10th, and Adam Wright not setting a representative lap time. I would call that form book exactly what we expected, but of course the race a different prospect, Caitlin.
Indeed, it is. Clyson's on pole in the GTEs, just as we expected. He, of course, is leading the GTE Championship by a long way. And now here go the LMP2s, or the HPDs. Now, the drivers that you should be looking out for here, of course, anyone could pose a challenge, although Neil Andrews is currently at the top of the championship. He's won 2 out of 3 of the races so far this season. The other one was taken by JPW Ringwood, who's second in the championship, followed by Jelle Pieter Hoogland, Tony Baird, and Ben Johnson. Those are the top 5 in the championship ones that you should be looking out for today. Look at them all bunching up at the end of the pit lane, getting ready to be the first driver out if they possibly can be. Track position is everything here.
Track position is crucial, and you can see right now everybody lining up like Raikkonen and Hamilton in 2008, I want to say, at this point in time. Of course, with Robert Kubica going on to win that race after the contact in pit lane. So they're really having this wait here to see whether they can get themselves going. They've got another whole minute before they get themselves out, and this is going to be crucial here, Caitlin. Those tyres have themselves a reset feature now on iRacing. Of course, when they are going under 40 kilometers an hour or so, those tyres, they will reset to be cold to stop people trying to hyperheat up the tyres on the new tyre model version 7.
That's interesting. I do wonder why they coming out so early, because I'm expecting some of the best laps to come later on in the session anyway. They do tend to. And also, those tyres, they're not going to be getting any warmer sitting there, are they? So, yeah. It always baffles me and perplexes me, I think is a better word, when drivers just shoot to the end of the pit lane and wait for the light. But I suppose it does give them the advantage of just sort of getting out there and getting it done, getting a banker lap in.
Engine notes are revving here because they've got 1 second before they're allowed to go, and now they can. Jelle Pieter Hoogland goes, and then comes the formation. You've got all sorts of teams here. Venomworks, you've got the CXR cars, you've got Danny Henney right now, who's running around very, very nicely. His first start of the season, more Venomworks colours that he is under at this point in time. So we'll keep an eye out on these drivers. Some also making their starts. Bill Kraus is one of those who is making a start to this season. So this is going to be crucial in terms of the way that he's going to be going. He's waited for everyone to get going as they either look at maybe draft around this place, which is not helpful on the opening section track, but brilliant for the final sector, or they're just trying to get themselves a little bit of room. But it will be Jelle Pieter Hoogland who will be the first to set representative lap times here in this event, Caitlin. So this is going to be key in terms of who has the pace that's needed today and what has been close in terms of 1 lap pace in qualifiers in this LMP2 class.
The LMP2 class has been very, very close every single round so far. We've had some wonderful fighting in Daytona, in Sebring, and also in Interlagos. Probably less so in Interlagos, but definitely Daytona and Sebring. And I'm expecting more of it today, courtesy of that long straight and and those heavy braking zones as well. But anyway, here goes yellow Pieter Hoogland. He's currently third in the championship, finished second at the first round after Neil Andrews had his accident, and he's going for as high a position as he can get today in qualifying. Little bit, yeah, that's not an ideal line through the first sector. Overshot, I think, at the first of the two apexes, and that set him up badly for the second one. But anyway, and that's really bad. He's done a Vettel. So Ringwood's or Hoogland's lap there is a little bit ruined, and it seems like the first driver to set a representative lap is going to be JPW Ringwood.
He's second in the championship, of course. He led after winning at Daytona. Didn't have the most amazing race by his standards for race 2, but at Interlagos, he still came away with a second place after what was being very surprised to be at the front of the field. Then it all fell apart at Sebring, so looking to try and get back on the horse and recover. Of course, that championship leader's got 2 straight wins to his name. Neil Andrews is the person who is currently the quickest driver in this championship in terms of points, but cannot rest on his laurels at the moment. Everything becomes a matter of vitalness at this point in time. You've also got likes of Taylor Lane out there trying to get a good time as well. A few drivers have set times that are not necessarily representative at the moment. Adam Dodd is classified as quickest of them right now on a 39.3, but they are just making their ways over the line right now. So we'll see what Ringwood does to set the benchmark. Would have been a little distracted earlier on in the lap, and it is a 27.1 to put proceedings going. So JPW Ringwood then, fastest at the moment as these times are coming in. Merchant on a 29.4 is 2.4 seconds back. Henny goes 1.2 seconds off. Andrews there, only second position for the time being, but you got likes of Tony Baird on a flyer in the Nomad Sim racing car.
Now, Ringwood was also faster in practice. We're looking for a 1:26.637 if he's going to beat that time. So not anywhere near it on his opening lap, but anyway, I'm sure drivers will get close to it later on. Tony Baird there, 1:27.558. That's second place as it stands. I was also watching Taylor Lane. He was going for his first flying lap, but made a mistake and had to bail out of it. We're still waiting for Bill Krause, Philip McDougall, and of course yellow Pieter Hoogland to set their first representative laps. Also, welcome back to Matthew Carter, who's been struggling in the session so far, but I'm sure that he will hook it up for a lap later on in the session. But anyway, I think the most important driver still to set a lap in terms of what their performance is going to be is yellow Pieter Hoogland, who was one of the fastest drivers in practice and has been all year, and is now setting up for another flyer.
Well, into the final chicane goes Hoogland, heavy up over the curb. Got to be careful here in these LMP2s. They are very aerodynamically dependent, especially on the floor as well, so you can't be too aggressive. 27.8 by Hoogland goes fourth. He's more of a racer than he is a qualifier. That's something worth keeping in mind at this point in time as Philip McDougall sets a representative lap time. He goes 9th, but bumped down to 10th because there's Benjamin Johnson jumping up to 7th position behind brother Josh at this point by 5 thousandths of a second. Well, we know which Johnson's quicker at the moment. 5 thousandths to Josh.
5 thousandths to Josh as it stands, but they're right together. They're 6th and 7th on the grid. And they've been fighting at times in this series. I think they had a side-by-side movement or two at Sebring, if I remember correctly. But anyway, 6th and 7th as it stands. Just ahead of Adam Dodd, who's set his first representative laps. Also looking at other drivers coming across the line, Ringwood recently started another flying lap, and it's looking good so far. It's looking clean, so I'm interested in that one. He's already 0.4 of a second faster than anyone else, but as I was saying, I'm expecting the times to continue to tumble.
Well, of course, they've got to make sure that they're doing well. Of course, we're in afternoon conditions right now, in sim time, just gone past 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so that track is going to get colder the longer that this race goes on. As on the brakes into the hairpin goes Matthew Carter, goes wide, and ultimately, feed him into the wall, why don't you, Tony, as you go on through. That was a little bit awkward between those two drivers going through, but there are only 2 minutes to go, so that's how quickly qualifying goes around here, as the likes of Josh Johnson jumps up to 5th place. Andrews up to 2nd on a 27.2. That's a good time there, but needs another 10th of a second as Andrews to get himself up onto pole position. So it's close at the moment, but Ringwood, who set an absolute monster in practice for a 26.6, he's nowhere near that at the moment, half a second off of that in terms of pace, but should be looking to move forward at this point in time. The 8 machine is ahead of the 10, but ultimately it's the 2 title contenders, 1 and 2 at the moment.
Ringwood followed by Andrews. That's how it stands at present. Tony Baird a little way off the 2 of them. And actually, the 2 of them separated. And Danny Henney goes second. And that, I think, is the best lap we've seen from Danny Henney all season. That's absolutely fantastic from Henney there. Of course, he has only done 1 race so far. He was at Interlagos, finished 3rd on that day. But yeah, he split the 2 championship leaders with that lap. So we'll see if he can keep that up towards the end of the session. The time is ticking down. We're almost at the checkered now. So that's very promising from the 33 machine.
It is promising, and now it's going to be track position at this point in time that we will be looking at here. So this is going to be key, as the likes of Dan Merchant out there on a lap. So who's good at this point in time? Ringwood, Henney, Andrews, Baird, Hoogland, your top 5 at the moment as they push through. Bill Krause, by the way, is behind some of these drivers, Clysons and Marshall, but will start ahead of them regardless of his time. Ben Johnson, 28 flat, 20 seconds then left to go in this session. It's all about who's got that extra lap in them, as likes to JPW Ringwood gets over the line with 10 seconds to go. Over the line also, Yele Peter Hoogland's going to go for 1 more. Behind him, Tony Baird, 5 seconds to go. Is Adam Dodd going to get 1 more lap in? It's going to be close with the line. I think he just gets over in time, so Adam Dodd will be the last car to look at. Danny Henney then, he clips the wall of champions. And just like that, his chance of improvement doesn't help. Ringwood did go 4/10 faster, by the way, on that last lap, onto a 26.7. So now he's given himself a massive margin here over the course of this one. Here comes Dan Merchant looking to improve on 10th place. He needs half a second for the next position, and Merchant does a 29.9, so does not improve on his lap time. Ben Johnson will be next. He's down at the hairpin at this point in time looking for it, but he's got Andrews behind. And if Andrews can get within a second here, he'll have a little bit of toe that will help in terms of the lap. And I think that's only what he needs in the CXR car. A bit of toe may help him get up onto the front row, which would be so vital around this place. Ben Johnson making his push then towards the final chicane and improving on 6th place. He needs a 10th and a little bit to get past Yele Peter Hoogland to jump up past the 15 car. So we'll see what Johnson can do over the line. Pushes for it. 27.5 jumps to 4th. Andrews 26.9, second position only. He did jump Danny Henney. Ringwood could go quicker though than a 26.7, and he does himself a quicker 26.7. It's a 7.07 he's done through. Hoogland on a 27.2 goes to 4th place. Tony Baird will not get his lap done as he goes through. Adam Dodd will be the last car over the line. So this is going to be key as he gets himself over 27.8, improves up to 7th position. So JPW Ringwood gets pole position then here at Montreal with Neil Andrews, his the championship leader and main rival, alongside. Danny Henney starts from 3rd, Yele Peter Hoogland 4th, then it's Ben Johnson in 5th, and Tony Baird, who's normally a good qualifier, having to work hard for this one today. He starts from 6th. Adam Dodd 7th, Josh Johnson in 8th, Philip McDougall 9th, and Dan Merchant in 10th. Matthew Carter starts 11th, and despite Bill Krause not setting a lap time quicker than Ewan Marshall or PJ Clysons, he will start this race from 12th position overall. Caitlin, this is going to be an interesting hour. 1 hour, 1 mandatory pit stop required for fuel. How did these drivers go out and tackle here today?
I should point out quickly, there's actually another LMP2 that didn't set a representative lap. Taylor Lane, I was looking at his final flying lap. He left it very late and sadly shunted out. So he will be starting from the back of the LMP2 field, I expect. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. 1 hour long race. And I think strategy is going to be very important here, because you don't want to get stuck behind another car. You really want to time this to perfection, to get it exactly right. And get yourself that clean air that you desire. But anyway, another thing to consider is that this is a particularly tricky pit lane as well. It's got a difficult pit entry, which comes right off the racing line where your opponents are braking. So you need to make sure as well that you're aware of what they're doing when coming into the pits. And sometimes you can be held up if someone's braking for the chicane while you are trying to come into the pits. So there's a lot more to think about to do with strategy than at most tracks.
Well, that's going to be crucial just to keep in mind. And in fact, actually, what I've just seen is that these drivers who are in LMP2 categories, they are going to have to start from the position that they qualified in. So they are going to have to make their ways through the GTE field. So that's going to be a little bit awkward here in terms of the start. So watch out for that, ladies and gentlemen, as that goes on. But something else I want to point out at this point in time is that we have a pace truck more rather than a pace car. It's the iRacing official pace truck. It says so right on the front. It's big, it's chunky, and I will be very surprised to see it get off the line quick, but I'm sure it's got a lot of grunt underneath that, and we'll use that to its advantage. Of course, there are 2 minutes to get yourself gridded up before that pace truck gets itself going, and it is a very short start to this one. They line up on the back stretch for this, and the pace truck will immediately pull itself down into pit lane for the start of 1 hour's worth of racing, and they will get themselves off of the marks at this point in time. Ringwood, of course, second in the championship, needs a good result here with Neil Andrews. Maybe there could be some dramas here for PJ Clysons. He's got to be careful as he lets through one Bill Kraus to jump up and escape to his field. Taylor Lane's going to sit right at the back and try and make his way through. So that's going to be something to keep in mind. But watch out for this start, because that pace truck goes in early, and if Ringwood gets himself a very quick launch, he could get himself a good advantage through the final chicane. Now pull yourselves up even alongside, and Ringwood thought about going there, but he's going to sit and wait, and there's the green flag. He had to wait for that, stay behind the pace truck, and go he does. So Ringwood, good start. Andrews alongside, and there's Danny Henney in third, side by side almost as they go into 1 and 2, but no change of position there. And looking back, Adam Dodd very slow on that start as he went through, as they all managed to go through. GTEs starting off quite nicely as they all try and funnel a way through.
Clyson's leading into turn 1, followed by Marshall, and then it's going to be Billy Fletcher, who has maintained. Oh, and he spun! Billy Fletcher spins from third position, and he's pointing backwards at turn 2. Does everyone avoid him? He spins the wheels, gets it back on the road. Everyone's avoided him. But yeah, drama at the start there, and up in the LMP2 field, it's still Ringwood who leads that.
Yeah, there was a very weird spin for the Ford as he went on through. Wide goes Andrews now, and here comes Danny Henney on the run to the Lopangle hairpin here as he tries to go for the outside line to try and make this one work. Is there going to be this look then on this braking zone? He was a lot better, and there's Tony Baird in the background trying to find a way past Yele Peter Hoogland. So well covered, well scouted, as there was a little bit of a close one on the exit there. Hoogland nowhere to go. Tony Baird almost running into the side, but Andrews does hold the position. But all this battling by Danny Henney, who is a Venomworks driver, not the same team though as JPW Ringwood, is allowing that chance to break away for Ringwood. Exactly what he wants in this race. But look at Andrews. He's struggling here on the early laps. And here comes Tony Baird looking for the position. Here's some Noah's Ark racing, Caitlin.
Tony Baird follow. Oh my word, yeah, we are going 2 by 2 down into turn 1. And, and there's contact, and that was, oh my word, and a big crash. And that'll be Hoogland, who's been taken off in that as well. And he's been absolutely fired off into the barrier. And the problem with that,
as well on his own incident then, going through the left-hander, went too deep over the grass, cannot stop the vehicle, and that's 4 LMP2s who have been involved in 2 separate incidents down at the same corner. Look at Yele's vehicle. He is crabbing like crazy and has been turned around by Philip McDougall after really struggling at this point. I think Yele's day is all but done. Remember, they do have no limits on the fast repairs. If they can get it back, they can work it, but all of a sudden, and the race looks a lot different. Ringwood leads, Andrews second, Ben Johnson's now third, and Adam Dodd is in fourth. Third, fourth, and fifth, all pretty much in a whole world of trouble after that first section, and it makes it 4 races in 4 where there have been issues for one driver. Louis Hanker, though, let's go to the GTEs ever so quickly. He was side by side with Matisse Van Delden, and here comes Ethan Bass down the inside. So Hanker losing 2 places here on the run to the left-right, but there's a slowdown coming for Matisse Van Delden.
The problem with Baird's move, it's an easy mistake to make, but he went for one move and then found himself having to go for another because there was another car on the outside having their own fight. Of course, that car was concentrated on their own fight, didn't see him coming, and they made contact. And to be honest, it's Baird's fault, but it's an easy mistake to make, and you can't really put too much blame on him for that. That kind of thing happens at the start of races.
It certainly does. PJ Clyson still leads, though, in your GTE categories. Just let Taylor Lane go through for position. Behind that, Ewan Marshall as the rear gunner at this point in time. Morgan Thompson in third at the moment. And look at this between Bass and Hanker as they look to try and scrap all the way up here this straight. Towards turn 1, towards turn 2. And on the brakes they go. Bass on the outside. There's Hanker on now the outside. Moving through turn 2 leaves a lot of room, but trying to pick up the run here on the exit. Class warfare, Ferrari versus BMW. And the Beamer here has not got the grunt here towards turn number 3. Can the biggest boy in all of the field get it done? No, that BMW must stay behind.
Must stay behind indeed. That's a very difficult place to pass. I don't think there was really anything doing down there. But anyway, he gets plenty more opportunities. Another thing I want to say just very quickly is I noticed that Bill Krautz, who of course started behind, or should have started behind the leading GTs, he actually didn't. He cut through and went to the back of the LMP2s, whereas Taylor Lane wasn't able to because he was starting further back. So I'm not sure if anything's going to happen about that. But there was obviously a little bit of discrepancy in what happened back then, but never mind. Up towards the Lepangle hairpin again, and oh my word, Van Delden, big lock up there. It looks to me as if he was trying to follow Lack through the corner and potentially tried to get him on the exit with the slipstream, but just misjudged it, braked too late, and had to slam on the anchors to avoid going into the tail of him. Now that's allowed Billy Fletcher back through. Fletcher, of course, on a recovery drive after his first lap spin, and that's going to cost Van Delden, who's not going to be able to go back to Fletcher yet.
I think he ever so slightly did go into the back. I think he traded a bit of paint there. Did one driver there, that being Matisse Van Delden. He did lose that position to Billy Fletcher, who's on the recovery. Steve Hobbs also dropped a mile back down the order over the last couple of laps, so Adam Wright in the mix. And there goes Edward Lack there at turn 2, just sliding on a little bit too deep through 1. Gets the grass and tries to stop it. It is cold conditions here today. 26 degrees, mostly cloudy, so they're not going to get much help from these tyres. They are going to be oversteer-centric here for the long and the short. Worth noting, McDougall did get by on Bill Kraus at the back end of last lap, but here is a battle going on at the moment. This is between Danny Henney and Daniel Merchant. Tony Beds found a way through as well on Merchant on this lap, so Danny Henney looking to try and get himself back into this race. Currently 16 seconds off of the race lead, needs to find a way past the Merchant as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I saw the move from Baird. It was a very good move, actually, very, very fast. Merchant had absolutely nothing to say about it. But anyway, here comes Danny Henney now. It's the Battle of the Dan. As Henney's about to go. If he gets a chance, he'll go to the inside of turn 1, but I don't think he's going to. But oh my word, and he is going to run wide there. I don't think he quite expected that braking. Oh wow, and he's up the inside. So even though he's run wide, it's ended up working for him as Merchant was not able to get the car turned in quick enough to shut the door.
That is very simply put the difference between a driver who has confidence in the car and a driver who doesn't, because that was very much like a chicken on a tightrope, some would say, for Daniel Merchant. Whereas you look at Danny Henney, he was suave, he was cool, he was very collected in the way that he made his moves and got himself going again. Worth keeping an eye on this. Jelle Peter Hoogland is lapped down. He took a tow after his incident and has got himself back out and going again. He's going to be fighting for as many points as he possibly can in this race. That is the point of contention. Gap at the front, 3.4 seconds and expanding right now for JPW Ringwood over Neil Andrews. Ben Johnson currently in third place as things look. The battle is on, though, and something's happened to Ewan Marshall here on this lap. He's now back in third. He's had himself a moment down at turn 1, turn 2, and by my reckoning of things, that looks very weird, like a slowed down penalty perhaps for Ewan Marshall coming out to the final chicane. Maybe has cost him a lot of time. He does not look like he has got very much speed at this moment for the Meraki racing car. He's under pressure for third place now from Louis Hanker.
Yeah, he cut the first of the 2 corners in the final chicane, so that's why he got the slowdown there. Anyway, here comes Louis Hanke. This is for 3rd position in the GTE class. He's got the slipstream, and there's a really nice Ferrari-shaped hole right where his car fits. But yeah, he's not going to be able to get close enough just yet. That's the best overtaking opportunity on the lap. And if you can't get through there, your next opportunity is right here up into turn 1. But you need to be all the way alongside your opponent because the track jinks to the right just before the braking zone, making it even harder to keep your car alongside. And Daniel Merchant, I think, has dropped out of the race now.
Well, that would be a shame for him. So Dan Merchant then has had a moment out on track. And in terms of where that has happened, I have been unable to catch it. So for Daniel Merchant then, his race is done. And that's a shame for him then, as he was running up in a pretty strong position at the moment. The train, though, well, actually, it is a technical issue for Dan Merchant, a received throughput, which is, of course, the internet has gone kaput. So that's why he's out.
Oh, sorry, Matthew Carter had a spin and he almost rejoined right in front of our GT leader. Luckily, they avoided it. Yeah, luckily. No incident there, but that could have been disastrous. I saw his wheels start to spin right as the leader came through, and I feared the worst, but luckily Carter better than that.
Yes, and he's just waiting to go, and he does, behind Adam Wright for position, so he needs to get himself going. That is one of those very weird moments where it's all about grip. He's come off a very slippy surface, as Bass is currently holding a 2-car train behind at the moment in Lack and Van Delden, where you go through that section of road, Caitlin, and you come off the grass back onto the tarmac, and suddenly you get more grip than you thought. Look at Bass struggling in a straight line. Here comes Van Delden around the outside, it would have to be at the final chicane. Nice and neat between them. Oh, bit of door-to-door wheel rubbing there. And then let's go 3 wide with Edward Lack, who's going to try and pick up a position here on the outside. This is a big scrap here as they go to turn 1. Who's going to be the nicest on the brakes? Well, Van Delden broke first, so he played chicken. Edward Lack got them both.
Edward Lack, brilliant move. That was absolutely wonderful there, up the inside. And I have to think, Billy Fletcher probably didn't even know he was there until he went through. So that's just how well he took them by surprise. Yeah, that was masterful from Lack, and he's getting And who's that dropping back? That's is that Billy Fletcher? Yeah, Billy Fletcher there. I think may have made a mistake through that because it's now 4 cars for 4, and well, that was weird. He took a really shallow... Oh, it was a slowdown, I think, for Billy Fletcher. And now he's behind one of the BMWs under pressure from the other.
Well, that's Lack ahead and Bass behind, so that's going to be tough here for Billy Fletcher. Into the wall slightly there off of the 3rd chicane there for Mathieu Van Delden. So he will now look to try and get himself back through on this. That's battle for 3rd still going on, but of course there are just a couple of battles going on in what is a very elongated at the moment LMP2 field. Adam Dodd has not stayed a million miles away from Benjamin Johnson. He's within 1 second at this point in time in the fight for the podium in your LMP2s. The other battle is Philip McDougall at the moment here, who is trying to keep a 1 lap down Jelle Peter Hoogland behind him. So at the moment I think that would be best for McDougall to let him go and run his own race at this point in time, but you can see at the moment how Louis Hanke is refusing to let go here of Ewan Marshall in the battle for 3rd in your GTEs.
He totally is. Yeah, also a quick look there from Matthias Van Delden. I was wondering if he was going to go past Ethan Bass, but nothing doing. But yeah, Ewan Marshall, they're under real pressure from Louis Hanke. We were wondering if there was going to be a chico when when Marsh had that mistake. But yeah, that's certainly close. Oh, as Fletcher goes for a look.
He's made a mistake.
Oh yeah, and Lack's gone wide. That's a very Vettel-like mistake, and just avoided by Van Delden there. That was a close one. But as he rejoins the circuit, still in one piece, just about. But yeah, I think he was distracted by Fletcher and his mirrors. Fletcher was going for the move, and in trying to outbrake him to stay ahead, Lack's made the mistake. And once you're in the grass, that's not going to end well.
Well, look at this. Hobbs is going to try and go and make a move as well. That was a forced error out on track, not an unforced one. That was the goal from Billy Fletcher, and it worked a charm. Round the outside, we'll try Hobbs. And keep in mind that right behind all of this, and Matthew Carter, is your race leader, JPW Ringwood. He's about to come in and lap this massive gaggle of cars, and this is where the race could go sour if they battle too hard. Remember, this is a street circuit. There are not many lengths or widths to make your way through, so they've got to behave nicely through this section because they have the race leader propping up in just a moment's time.
That's gonna hurt. Yeah, now who's that involved? That's Matthew Carter? He's a lap down. He's actually fighting these GTEs for position. So I was kind of confused as to why there was an LMP2 there. But anyway, here comes Ringwood. His first target is Steve Hobbs in the Ferrari, and this is a bad place to find a lot of traffic, to be honest. Right as you're heading to the back part of the circuit, the tightest, twistiest, and most aero-dependent part of the course. But anyway, he's got one. Here comes Edward Lack. Now Lack's just lost a couple of places, so he'll be pretty fired up. Sees him coming. He started to turn in, but he saw him coming before it was too late. Ringwood's got past him. So next up, Adam Wright in the Porsche. We haven't seen him that much today, and I think he's going to make it relatively easy for him.
Yeah, and straight through at the third chicane. There goes the move. So Ringwood's there. Basser's run off wide and rejoins nicely. We'll have to take the slow down as he loses the place to Van Delden. So making it look nice and easy. JPW Ringwood, no real dramas as he hits the brakes down for the hairpin and gets it all sorted now. Look who's on the back of this now. Here's Neil Andrews. Now it's his turn to go through very much the concertina as he will try and negotiate a way through up another place and get himself moving forward through. As you can see, he gets the nice bit. He gets past one quickly. He'll get past two quickly. That's his own teammate in a different style of vehicle, but he's got to be careful here on these breaks through the final chicane. Something to keep in note is that these GTEs, they are better in the lower speeds, but it's the higher speeds where you see these LMP2s work well. That's why through the early parts of the sections, the GTE is pretty similar and can stay within a couple seconds here of these LMP2s, Caitlin.
It's also where we see some of the slower LMP2s actually fighting on pace with the fastest GTEs. It's because they're much closer together than at some other tracks that don't rely so much on low-end grunt. It's quite difficult. If you've ever driven an LMP2, you'll know that it's difficult to put the power down at low speed when you're high in revs and low in downforce. It can really kick out the rear end, and the car feels like it's skating a bit. But that's where the GTEs feel very stable, I suppose, like a brick. So. Yeah, at lower speed, I'd much rather be in a GTE than an LMP2, but once you get to the faster speed stuff, that's when the LMP2s really come into their own.
Absolutely. Right now, as you can see, a move being lined up by Steve Hobbs potentially. That's one is not going to work down at the hairpin. It was close, but not really there. Now look at this, though. Adam Dodd and Benjamin Johnson. Now, this is where things get awkward because you've got a battle going on out on track within a second of each other. Tony Baird and Josh Johnson about to happen too. That gap 1.5 seconds on the road. They're going to turn up to this as Carter makes his way by one, but there you can see Ed Lack getting past Adam Wright without too many difficulties. So this suddenly becomes a little bit awkward for everyone in terms of this scrap. These are all for position. First pitter comes in, loves the early stop, does Billy Fletcher. Billy comes in to make the stop.
Billy Fletcher in. That's a pretty early stop. We're not even 20 minutes into the race yet, so not even a third of the way in. But anyway, he's... I suppose he's reacting to the fact that he was down in the GTE field after his spin in the early stages and wants to make his stop now to get himself some clean air. It does make sense, but it also means he may have to put more fuel in than most drivers if he is, well, I assume he's refueling. I expect everyone will be. But anyway, might have to put more fuel in than some other drivers, which of course costs some pit stop time that he'll have to make up on the road.
Well, look at how much Adam Dodd is struggling with the traffic right now because both Josh Johnson and Tony Baird have come together. Almost there. Contact in towards the third chicane as Tony Baird has to try and lift off through that section. He very nearly caused two massive accidents there in through the right and left by trying to be aggressive and pin his way through, threading the needle. He'll try again down at the hairpin. Carter as well running into troubles right now, I do believe that is, who's running slow. And look at this now, too wide off the exit of the hairpin. Again, Tony Baird looking for fourth.
It's me, we've got 4 LMP2s heading down the straight on a different lap to the others. And this could all end in tears here. Look at Baird as he goes to the inside of Johnson. That's the place he's found. but he's going to have to back out of it because this chicane just too fast and the wrong angle to try something like that. Here comes that's Hobbs in the Porsche there. They actually it's not, it's Adam Wright, but anyway, they get past him without any issues. And of course, every time they reach a new GTE in a dodgy place, in a tough place to get past, especially if those GTEs are fighting with other GTEs, they all just bunch back up again because it's like an accordion. It's like pressing an accordion from both sides. You just end up compressing the field.
Well, they can see Ed Lack having to be negotiated around the outside. That's going to give Dodd a lot of time here to move forward, and those are the gives and the takes of dealing with the traffic. If you know where to push forward, you can gain a position or two, and this is the scary part we were talking about all race long. How will these LMP2s get past the GTEs? I think they've done pretty well for the moment, but they will have another three-car train because it's on second, third, and fourth. Got Hanker in fourth, Marshall third, Morgan Thompson's been caught backwards to second position right now, and all of a sudden it is once more a case in your GTE field of a fight for the best for the rest.
Down the straight they go, and Beard has indeed managed to clear Josh Johnson. And here comes Marshall, and that's for second in the GTEs. He's got a much better exit out of the chicane, and he's up the inside. Johnson still holding the inside. That's the most important place to be. Now, can Hanker follow him through? Often you can do that if two cars ahead of you are fighting. Stay in the same positions for now.
Sorry, I've just seen an incident here. Ethan Bass is pretty much out of this race because he has been torpedoed into the side by Danny Henney on the brakes, who just couldn't slow it up there through that section. Wright had his own spin off of the exit being on the inside, so Danny Henney has had himself a moment here, and that has really affected Ethan Bass. I think his race is pretty much all but done at this moment in time.
Those are two Brittech cars. Yeah, those are two Brittech cars.
They were Brittech cars.
Oh no! So teammates they're colliding.
They were teammates
in different classes. And yikes.
Big yikes indeed, as the former Brittech teammates there. Of course, Brittech now defunct after the last round that we had. They decided to disband, but ultimately did not work out then in the end. So Thompson, Marshall, Hanker at the moment, they are the ones who have got to work at this point in time. They know where their scrap lies, and it is at the moment about 10 seconds down the road from PJ Clysons here, who leads this one. You can see how close they are going at this moment, but for the time being, Thompson, no real worries at this point in time. Will there be another look here in towards the left of turn one, out on track? The track, of course, fading away to the right here through this section, and on the brakes they go. No chances of moves to the moment. Side by side though, Adam Dodd deals with that. Tony Baird goes through up into what is now fourth place in this race overall.
Indeed they do. Sorry about the Brittech thing, I completely forgot they disbanded, but anyway, good moves there in the LMP2 field. They have the toughest job today because it's their responsibility to pass the GT.
Carter's around. Matt Carter around at the back end of turn two, and I think it was contact with a GTE, so quick on the power on the exit was Mathieu van Delden, runs into the side there of Matthew Carter, and that's the issue with inter-class battling out there. You know that the LMP2 struggles to put the power down, and that's where Mathieu van Delden's Ferrari was a lot better.
Yeah, that was an interesting one there. You rarely see a GT hitting an LMP2 from behind, but anyway, Carter ended up bouncing off the wall. He's got slight damage to the rear left, although again rejoined without causing any more incidents. Good for him actually. He's spun a couple of times already today, but and despite them being in tricky positions, he's always managed to rejoin the race without causing any further accidents, which is always good. On a street circuit, that's often tricky, but anyway, Matthew Carter better than that.
Look at Louis Hanker. He's going to try and make a pick here with Tony Baird going around the outside, but ultimately with Baird diving down to the inside, Hanker not in a position to get past the Meraki car in front. That Ferrari ultimately doing a good enough job at this moment in time to hold that position in third here with Louis Hanker also in a Ferrari, and now there's more vehicles behind wanting to get through. That's Dodd there just struggling a little bit. His vehicle seemingly very much struggling in dirty air, and that's going to be something just to keep in mind. He's already lost a couple of seconds, and Josh Johnson just behind, who did struggle to find a way through on Adam Dodd. Well, he's going to be there next, and just behind that, of course, Danny Henney on the recovery may want to try and find a way through. And we are, of course, here heading towards the 23rd, 24th minute here in this race. So you start knocking on the door and saying early pit takers maybe for your LMP2 fields. They can make it home on 40 minutes worth of fuel.
The LMP2s there have been splitting up the GTEs. They had a GT between them, but now Marshall there has been forced wide on the exit of Lepangle, and Hanker is going to have a great opportunity here. He's got a much better exit. He's got the slipstream as well, and using the windbreak, I'd be surprised if he doesn't get alongside him here. Actually, he might not think it's worth it. He might think it's better to set himself up for the chicane. But then, Marshall there's made a mistake. He's touched the wall of champions, and through goes Lewis Hanke. He's now on the inside. He's got the better run, and surely he's going to make that stick now. Lewis Hanke to third place, is he? Still on the inside. Yes. Yep, that's the most important place to be there. So Lewis Hanke there finally takes third position due to that final corner mistake from Ewan Marshall.
And you can see how much time it's cost Louis Hanker at this point in time. Morgan Thompson is a whole chicane ahead at this point, so a lot of work to be done. Danny Henney has come down in to make his stop, so he is the first taker. He must have been listening to me, saying this might be the time where stops open up, so he will...
And Hanker's run wide again, and back through, and they're going to touch. They briefly brushed wheel, but Hanker's gone through. Now here comes Jelle Peter Hoogland. He's on the same lap as them both as well. Hoogland's going to go through easily, but Marshall there has made a very similar mistake to the one we saw Bast making earlier, and immediately lost that third place he'd only just gained.
Well, that was Hanker making the mistake, absolutely, and that was an unforced error at that point in time. Had the move done by a few corners, and all of a sudden, pressure told, and there goes the position back again. So you're going to have to work again here, Louis, if you want to get past Ewan Marshall. So that's going to be just a little bit of a game that does not want to be played the longer that things go on. Eyes, though, to Tony Baird for the moment right now here in fourth position, because look at what he's gained over the last lap. A 27.7 against the 28.3, 6/10, gap cut in half, and this might be a case where Ben Johnson may just have to cede the place that Tony Baird might just be on for a podium.
Indeed, here comes Hanker again, looks one way, looks the other, and stays behind Ewan Marshall at the time being. But yeah, we've also got Baird, and here goes Marshall running wide, and now Hanker's alongside him again. That's a tough place to pull a move, because the next corner is very, very fast and leads into a fast left-hander as well, and as a result, Marshall keeps the place for the time being. Hanker on the exit though, better exit. Now this is where he made the mistake a lap ago, and Morgan Thompson's gone off from second. So Thompson off from second in the GTEs, and rejoins just ahead of them. So he still kept that position.
There was contact. There was contact for Morgan Thompson. That was Jelle Peter Hoogland running into the back under brakes, and that was very clumsy from Jelle, who did not know where the driver in front was going. Morgan Thompson was moving to the outside under brakes, and ultimately Jelle decided to hold his line, as you would do, and is running into more troubles. If you look at the front of Jelle Peter Hoogland's car right now, it is pretty much all suspension. It looks more like an aerial atom than it does a HPD, so to speak, because there is pretty much not much there at this point in time. So that changes quite a fair bit going on. We've also got this battle as well here, Caitlin, going on. You've got Philip McDougall and Taylor Lane in a scrap for 7th and 8th.
Bear's got third. Did we point that out, or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, my apologies. Yeah, indeed, Taylor Lane, of course, is having his own fight now with is that Philip McDougall? It is. So they're fighting over 7th, and into the pits comes McDougall. So that fight has ended pretty much as soon as it started. So you were right in terms of when drivers start pitting there.
Yep, they are starting to pit. We will correct, because Tony Baird did just get that done on the back straight, sorry. So that was the move done. Josh Johnson, not Ben Johnson, down into the pits. Jelle Peter Hoogland in once again, as McDougall, of course, has come in. We were talking about the same time that Steve Hobbs had a spin at turn 1. That was about a lap ago. We have no need to go back to that at this point in time, but everything just started to kick off one incident after the other. The one thing that stayed calm at the moment here is this race lead. It's 5.5 seconds right now for JPW Ringwood over Neil Andrews, and the pair of them hold the race wins in this championship. And if things stay like this, it will be 2 wins apiece for both of them.
Yeah, both leads look pretty stable in it. We haven't got any battles for either of the leads going on. It's all to do with the lower positions of the podiums. In LMP3, of course, we've just had a change for 3rd place. In GTE as well, we're having a close fight for was 3rd and is now 2nd as well, because Morgan Thompson has been forced to join them. But yeah, JPW Ringwood keeping the championship alive as it stands, 5 seconds ahead of Andrews. They both stayed out for another lap, and as do GTEs.
Well, here comes Ewan Marshall. What a run through the final chicane. Backing off here in towards the opening turns 1 and 2. This 90 left into the 160 degrees right, which does make that 180 come the end, but you have to work for it. It's a corner which really is tough on the tyres as you head on through, because you're having to turn and accelerate all the time as you go through down the hill to 3 and 4, and Marshall just staying behind, not quite yet in position. And this is crucial in terms of drivers who have come in, who have made stops, who have looked to try and find a bit more. One of them has been Ed Lack, who has come down in and made a stop. He is not a million miles behind Jonas Gillis, as well as he's come down in and made his pit stop as well. So I think drivers who haven't come down in just yet, they'll be looking to go on a little bit further. In terms of those who have made stops, Josh Johnson has lost a lot of time to Danny Henney in the stop.
And here comes, that's an LMP2 coming up the end. Oh, and that was close there, and he's managed to split the second place fight in GTE. I really thought that was going to end up worse, because I didn't think there was an LMP2 car's length between them, and there pretty much wasn't until he put his car there. But anyway, through goes, and that was Taylor Lane, who's had an incident to that corner before. But anyway, he comes into the pits now. Locks up the tyres, getting it slowed down, but that is okay. And that would have startled Morgan Thompson and Ewan Marshall especially, and put them even closer together now.
What is worth mentioning is that it is really tough on the lane to get it right, because if you get it wrong, you could be there for an extra 15 seconds for a stop and a hold penalty, which might be the reason why Josh Johnson's gone from 2 seconds ahead of Danny Henney to 13 seconds behind. So that looks like that's where the diagnosis comes from for that position change out on the road. But you've got the likes of Morgan Thompson right now here, Ewan Marshall, Louis Hanker, all there, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Just want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you are liking what you are seeing, please like the video, share it if you can with your friends, and subscribe for more great content here with Forever Sim Racing, as well as the fact that our music here today was produced by Violet. Of course, you can catch her album Queen of Misfits on Bandcamp and on Spotify, and of course, some brand new albums in the works in the not too distant future right now. Still, no takers on the lane from the front 5 drivers here who have come in for your LMP2s, as the first driver who has made a stop is Danny Henney at this point in time. And it's crucial to see his time. So 27.4 he did last go around. And in terms of what that says, the only drivers who were quicker were the leading 2. So clearly, new tyres, fresh tyres, they are working.
Ewan Marshall into the pits now. Ewan Marshall in the Ferrari from 3rd place in GTE. Now the important thing is, the longer you can leave the car out, the less fuel you have to take. As a general rule, of course, it does differ sometimes, but as a result, the drivers who pit later on do have a slight advantage. And if they decide to pit earlier, that tends to be for the purpose of getting clean air. Oh.
Wall of Champions then for Steve Hobbs. That's the first one we've seen proper. So, Steve, wherever you may win a championship, you will become a champion one day. But, my friend, losing the back end into the Wall of Champions head-on as well is the worst way to hit the Wall of Champions.
Managed to make it into the pits, though. That's a lucky way to have the incident. Because if he'd kind of bounced off the wall and continued down the track, like some people do, he'd have had to have gone a whole lap or get a tow. So, got off luckier than he could have done, but still, yeah, that's going to cost him a lot of time. He does have a fast repair. He's got one.
He's got all of them.
All of them, yeah, okay. So he is making that now, but still, yeah, that's going to cost him some time.
And
Tony Bed in the pits.
And Matthew Carter straight on and probably straight out of this race after going back forward. So in is Steve Hobbs, in is Tony Baird, then to make his stop. So he comes in, and this is crucial because he was close behind Ben Johnson moving forward. So Ben Johnson now probably has to react here to Tony Baird if he doesn't want to lose the place. Out and away he goes. Danny Henney coming down the straight right now, but there is no chance that he's going to be caught. Worth noting around this Montreal circuit, they don't use the Formula 1 pit lane, they use the IndyCar pit lane boxes. So those boxes go a lot further than you think they do, Caitlin.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's probably going to confuse me a few times today, but anyway, I've just had a look at Carter's incident. He simply lost it on the exit of turn 4. Again, easy mistake to make. I'm sure that everyone has had an accident there at some point or another. I personally haven't, but I've only raced here once, so I suppose I'm yet to have that accident. But anyway, Hanka now up to the back of Thompson, and of course with Marshall having pitted, that really takes some pressure off Hanka. It means he's not just having to, I suppose, worry about sorry, you get what I mean. He has to worry about one fewer driver now with Marshall having pitted, and now he can attack Thompson without worrying about losing a place to Marshall as well.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a crucial case to be seen here and how these drivers are all going to go out and work hard in terms of the latter stages of this race. We are over half distance here. Half distance score complete by JPW Ringwood, who's done 24 laps here of this event so far, looking to start his 25th when he next comes across the line. PJ Clyson's in control once again here of your GTE category, and by a sizable margin here, as Louis Hanka is looking for second position on the road. Has he got the look to the inside? Well, he's going to think about committing to it, but did not send that one down the inside. And this has been the Louis Hanka way. Just sit and wait and almost try and force your opponent into a mistake more rather than trying to force an initiative. First two, though, they have come down onto the lane. Ringwood and Andrews at the same time.
Ringwood and Andrews. So we've got the leaders going for what is effectively a... well, no, they're not close enough for it to be a sort of leapfrog fight in the pits. But yeah, definitely we're going to have a good reference for whether they're gaining time, or whether Andrews in particular is gaining time on Ringwood, and if so, how much that gap is going to shrink by. Ringwood exits his box, and Andrews, that looks to me as if the gap may have extended by maybe about a second or so. We're yet to see, of course. We'll have to look.
Like it.
Yeah, we'll have to wait until the next lap is completed, but that looked a bit slower there from Andrew.
Well, Andrews was 7 seconds behind when last crossing the start-finish line, so we'll see what that gap does extend up to. It has now put Benjamin Johnson into the race lead, Adam Dodd now into second, so this is going to be key in terms of their fight because they've got a lot of work to do. Hanka is through, though, on Morgan Thompson for second position, did so on the back straight around the outside into the chicane. He got it done before they got there. Thompson had to yield that place. There was no way that it was going to be anything but that move for Louis Hanka. So well worked, well done through that section as they go on forward, just moving on here in this race. So we'll keep that in mind. Dodd and Johnson, remember, they were fighting with Tony Baird, but now they may be looking backwards at Danny Henney as in comes Ben Johnson from the race lead to make his stop, followed swiftly behind by Adam Dodd, but they have Bill Krause in front of them here for the stop. So that's going to put JPW Ringwood back in control of the race lead overall as Jonas Gillis is in again. I think he's had an incident out on track potentially here, has Gillis, that may... oh no, he's come down in on his own accord again. I think he may have had a speeding on pit lane penalty, but gap is now 8.6 seconds here between Ringwood and Andrews.
Yeah, it's even larger than I thought there. Neil Andrew is 8.6 seconds back, so he lost almost 2 seconds in the pit stop there. Maybe he took more fuel, potentially. It may have been that Ringwood actually started on more fuel than him. I'm also wondering, maybe he changed tyres and Ringwood didn't, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, he is in 4th place in the order officially, but I'm sure that's going to update itself as they cross the start-finish line for another time, as he is definitely ahead of both of those. He's got that's Fletcher, Billy Fletcher in the Ford coming up. Fletcher still on a recovery drive. He's had a relatively good performance since his spin on the opening lap, but anyway.
Well, get a look at this right now, because in terms of where Danny Henny's come out, so Adam Dodd's fallen behind his teammate, but in front of him is Benjamin Johnson. So Johnson's stop was good enough to get ahead of Danny Henny, but not good enough was Adam Dodd. So that's going to be key in terms of this scrap. These three are going at it, or will be going at it together right now for what will be 4th, 5th, and 6th here out on the road. So we'll keep that in mind as they go through. Also got this one, a battle of those who have come down and made a stop. Steve Hobbs and Edward Lack right now. They will be scrapping it out, hoping that they will be in a good position. And they are exactly a lap down on their class leader here, PJ Clysons, who is due a stop, mind you, in this race. They are pretty close to the margin that's needed to come down in. But, of course, we know that they can just extend that fuel a little bit longer. They've got a few settings in that vehicle which allows them to run a little bit longer at the expense of power. But not often do you see that happen, but enough that PJ Clysons right now is looking to go 40 minutes on his stint.
PJ Clyson's long stint, I wouldn't be surprised if the last GTE in. He's got clean air, so he's really got no reason to pit early. And really, he's just going to be running his fuel rate down as long as he can, and that is, of course, so long as the tires aren't wearing. But I don't think you have to change tires in this race.
No, well, you don't.
Sorry.
Well, you don't have a need to change the tyres. There's nothing mandatory. Technically, you can run a race and not need to put any fuel in, but they'll have to stop for fuel. Now, if they want to, and it's probably more beneficial in this race that they stop for tyres. Of course, I'm not sure if it came to the GTE update as well, but there was definitely a GT3 update where there was definitely no chance of double stinting the tyres. Billy Fletcher's had a moment here down at the final section of track. Has he almost clipped the wall there through the Wall of Champions section? He got over the curb and, he very nearly did. I think he had to serve the slowdown as he was very heavy over the curbs. He very nearly got a kiss of Wall of Champions.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many drivers touch that so far today. I say touching wood. But anyway, we saw, of course, a driver crash there a couple of laps ago, and we saw a brief tap of the wall from Ewan Marshall earlier on. But nothing too severe, luckily. I'm also noticing PJ Clysons is about to be passed by Jelle Pieter Hoogland in a little while as well, so hopefully that goes okay. Hoogland still on his recovery drive to the top of the GTE field, and and we got, is that Baird moving slowly? It is. Baird's had an incident, I think.
No.
He's run off. He's had a spin. At oh wow, got far too much curd there at turn 7, I think, and round it went. So Tony Baird, who was running 3rd in LMP2, has
now 6th.
Yeah.
Wow. So that all happening, an unforced error there for Tony Baird, and he has been a driver who has had the pace to be up at the front, but a mistake here for Tony. He looked like he was the quickest man in practice. Oh, he's in the fence. He's hit the fence through the small left-hand kink, because he just had a failure of some kind. He just went straight on through that section, maybe not even concentrating as he lisked into the left. And I wonder, yes, it looks like he's had a technical failure. Maybe his wheels decided that it's hard locked to the right. So Tony Baird is out here of this race again. So Ben Johnson now holding the podium ahead of Danny Henny in the fight for 3rd. Adam Dodd not a million miles away, but Tony Baird from nothing is out.
Tony Bird having a terrible day there. That is a big, big shame. And if that indeed was a wheel failure, like it looked, then that is weird. It's
Twice.
ironic. Yeah, it's ironic time to have it immediately after you've had a spin. But anyway, it's also very, very unlucky, and he is out of the race. That means that the fight between Johnson and Henny, who I think are both pitted, that now becomes the fight for P3, and they've been going at it for a while now. So that could be a very exciting conclusion to the podium fight. And he goes to the inside, does Henny, and that's an interesting place to do it because you set yourself up very badly for the straight. And I think Johnson's got a much better exit there.
Clysons has come down in and out again for his stop. Hanker has come down in, and Ewan Marshall's coming down the straight right now. Ewan Marshall's got this one quite comfortably here as he hits the brakes, but Hanker can close that gap down on the run through turn 1, turn 2, so that gap very close with the white line on the exit there. But Louis Hanker, he's only a second and a half back, and Morgan Thompson, remember, who was behind, actually dropped back quite a lot over the stint. So Morgan Thompson, who has stayed out, has the
Fletcher around again.
Yep, that's Billy Fletcher, and he's gone right in front of third, fourth, and fifth, and they've pretty much threaded the needle there. Billy, who has changed vehicles into that Ford, just losing out there. And it is worth noting that Ford has the most LMP-like property, so you have to really much drive that Ford like it is an LMP2 vehicle.
Yeah, it looks to me like his brake bias wasn't where I expected it as he braked into the corner. The rear end snapped away from him, and in trying to save it, he was really going for a wide there. He was in the hands of the racing gods, and around he went. Only a couple of meters before he spun on the first lap, the place where he spun on the first lap as well. So doesn't exactly like the first sector, does Billy Fletcher today. And it's a shame because he is clearly very fast. He qualified P3. He's been one of the fastest drivers in terms of single lap pace in this race. But his main problem is just that he's had a few too many incidents.
And it's those incidents that are hurting at this point in time. So what you are seeing here is a couple of drivers just running themselves into troubles here and into troubles there. Remember, Billy Fletcher was second in the championship coming into this one, ahead of Ewan Marshall by a solitary point. And here in fifth place, those are going to be more points that he is going to be dropping here in this one overall. With Marshall in second, this could be the first 1-2 of the season that we've seen for Meraki Racing, which they will desperately be happy for at this moment in time. All they've got to do is do what they've done every race so far, just keep it out of trouble. They've done so many times before, and they'll do it so many times in the future. But you cannot underestimate how much Meraki Racing are just putting a stranglehold here on this GTE category at this point in time, Caitlin.
Indeed, Jelle Peter Hoogland there, one of the last LMB2s. Actually, no, he didn't make his stop. He got passed by, I think he was giving, well, he kind of been giving way to Christ because Christ's a lap down in it, so that's a weird one. But anyway, maybe in a slowdown or something. Those two not really fighting for very high points. They are down in 9th and 10th position as it stands, with Hoogland now a lap ahead of Kraus, so Kraus not having a
They're on
good
the
time
same
of it.
lap.
Yes, although Hoogland just about to put Kraus a lap down, I think. Oh, no, unless... I think I'm getting that wrong. I think Kraus has genuinely just got past Hoogland. My mistake.
Well, this is going to be interesting then between them. They both run, way deep. Little tap of the wall there for Kraus. And, yeah, they can have that one straight back again. So, good work between them as they continue on. Not long remaining, though, in this race, ladies and gentlemen. They are under 15 minutes to go. We're into the final quarter of this one. It is still on 4th and 5th. Adam Dodd, Danny Henny at the moment having their scrap into turn 1, turn 2. Dodd ahead of Henny at this point in time. That's crucial to keep in mind. And in terms of what is going on between Hoogland and Kraus as they both crossed the line, they are both on the same lap. So that was for position. What you just saw, slow off the exit there, is Mathieu van Delden, who's had a spin down at the final chicane up over the curbs, and he has done very well to keep that out of the Wall of Champions with a nice Grosjean spin.
Yeah, that was very, very good. The difference between him and Grosjean is that he accelerated off the racing line. But anyway, sorry?
Kraus has had a slide down at turn 3-4, so he's gone in deep through 3, caught the grass on the inside, and has done well to keep the car locked at 45 degrees, has kept going, but has dropped a little bit of time out on track there. So that was not very helpful in terms of the way that his race is running. He has been struggling with times all day long, but at the moment, got to keep an eye on Louis Hanker here with Ewan Marshall, because Marshall, at this point in time, keeping Hanker at an arm's width away at about 2 seconds here, Caitlin. But as we know, it's going to be very interesting to see how those times come back in. Hanker, 33.1 the last time by, took nearly 3/10 out of one Mr. Ewan Marshall, and Ben Johnson's going to have to try and find a way through here.
Now, are we sure that both of those drivers have pitted? Because Morgan Thompson, he's lost a lot of time. Because he pitted twice, did he?
No, he's only pitted once, but he lost a lot of time just before making his stop.
Right. How did that happen? Because he was P2 for quite a long time, and he was fighting with these two as well.
There's a lap on lap 26 where he did a 1 minute 40.1, and that was mainly down to the fact that he missed both the first and the second chicanes and had to take 2 slowdown penalties. So that's why Thompson has dropped a million miles off of this battle at this point in time. But it is a battle for the podium at the moment here in your GTE category between Louis Hanker and Ewan Marshall at the moment. And unironically here at this point in time, there's a battle behind that as well that they are keeping an eye out on also at this point in time. So they've got to make sure that they are keeping themselves going. In terms of the gap, though, at the front of your overall field, though, Caitlin, 12.5 seconds for JPW Ringwood. He has put on a masterclass here today.
That's big. It was 8.6 as he came out of the pit, and it's extended by 4 seconds now. So JPW Ringwood absolutely putting on a masterclass, showing that Andrews isn't going to be necessarily the top of this season. He could have won the first race of the championship before having an accident while leading, and then made up for it by winning the next 2. And I was expecting...
Look at this. Here comes Hanker. He's taking advantage of the 2 Venomworks cars going by. And then here on the brakes down the inside, Louis Hanker's going to have to work for this one. He hasn't got the power. Inside contact. But they both go round into the wall. Goes Ewan Marshall. And that was a case of Marshall just trying to hold the line. And you can't really judge that one. A case of unfortunate events. Marshall is out.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. It looked to me as if they didn't initially make contact. And Hanker lost control all by himself, either by...
netcode?
Yeah, it looks like it could have been netcode, but it could also have just been a bit too eager on the loud pedal. Really, I don't think we know about that. I'm going to say...
he lost it. No, it definitely didn't look like a netcode hit. So, for me, Hanker has lost that one here as he's going through. He's tried to turn it, and then bang, there's the contact. Marshall into the wall and out of this race, if not taking a tow and getting himself the fast repair. So just like that, Louis Hanker into second, Morgan Thompson up into third, and Billy Fletcher will extend his gap in second in the championship here as he will jump up into 4th position then, and we'll see Ewan Marshall behind him. That is going to hurt as well Meraki in the constructor or the team's championship right now, but that won't worry them too much when you got PJ Gleison's taking 26 points out of everyone every time they race. But other battles on track. Josh Johnson has been caught hand over fist by Taylor Lane. This is on for 6th and 7th, as well as still that fight going on for 5th and 4th at the moment between the teammates, Dodd and Henny.
And Johnson has a slowdown. So Taylor Lane has gone through, and Johnson now puts the power back down. So that is over 5th position. Yeah, as you were saying with that incident with Marshall and Hanker, I don't think it was Marshall's fault at all. He seemed to be completely blameless there. Whether Hanker was to blame or not really depends on whether it was netcode or not. But anyway, you have to say that Marshall was the innocent victim, and hard racing, I'm afraid, has punished him. But anyway, he becomes another retirement in this race.
He does. But you got another battle going on right now as Edward Lack tries to keep behind Steve Hobbs, who has been around a couple of times here in this event, looking to try and bring himself back in. This is a little bit further down as there's a little blink out there for Edward Lack. He's got to be a little bit careful about how the internet's going to be working for him in the latter stages of this race. Not long to go in terms of distance now. They're inside the final 10 minutes. So Steve Hobbs getting a good run here at the moment. On the brakes, right-left chicane comes up. And not close enough at the moment to make that move, I would have thought, down into the hairpin, but definitely in striking distance.
Also close between Henny and Dodd. Well, they were close at the start of this lap. I think the gap has come out by about half a second since that time was taken. But yeah, that definitely got closer the last couple of laps. Did you see something there?
I certainly did, and that's the case that Adam Dodd was ahead of Danny Henny a few laps ago, but then the move was done at the back end of lap 34. That was a case of straight down the inside for Danny Henny, and he got past Adam Dodd without too many issues at all. So the two teammates have swapped places, and Benjamin Johnson now here in third only has to try and run himself over to the end of this race, you would feel, because at the moment, what has to be said is that Johnson holds a 5-second margin right now, and there are no ways that Henny, I think, can close this down without an incident happening. And that's Steve Hobbs, who has found himself in the wall on his own, pushing a bit hard, trying to chase down Ed Lack.
Yeah, just ran wide, and again, that set him up really badly for turn 2. We've seen that happening a couple of times today. Of course, those corners are so dependent on each other that that kind of thing is very easy to do, especially since when you flick the car left followed by right, it can often unsettle the car, and at that point your rear end is not really under your control anymore, and the tail tries to wag the dog, exactly like what we just saw there. But anyway, he resumes in the race. I'm not sure he even lost a position from that, so he's lucky, but definitely lost a lot of time in all of that. We're now into the final 7 minutes of the race. The time continues to tick down. LMP2 is continuing to lap. GTEs everywhere you look. The track feeling very busy now, even though we've had a few retirements. And I just noticed Taylor Lane there getting past Lewis Hanke. Hanke there appears to be taking it easy now. Just wants to get it to the flag without getting involved in any more incidents. He is looking almost for second position here. Although one thing I was wondering about is if he gets a penalty for that, maybe. I'm not saying that necessarily he should, but if indeed he does, I wonder if he's far enough ahead of Thompson to keep that place, maybe.
Well, that will be decided in post if that penalty comes into play. Keep an eye on Danny Henny right now. Only a handful of laps to go. And he's brought that gap from 5 seconds down to 2 seconds right now. Henny is the fastest man on track, doing a 1:26.9 that last time by. Ben Johnson, a 27.9. So an entire second taken off right now. These two part of the same team, but not for this championship. You can see the difference being the black in terms of complementing the orange compared to the blue for Danny Henny. So Henny right now in the 33 has a few laps to go, has to get past Ben Johnson, and that would be for the podium right now, which he would very much appreciate at this point in time. So now as Ringwood crosses the line, they've got 3 minutes 55 seconds remaining on the clock, and that's going to be a bit less as it continues to tick on by. By my maths, which is not the most brilliant maths here, Caitlin, that would put them to 3 laps to go as they cross the line.
I'd agree with that, to be honest. I reckon we have 3 laps remaining, and the gap for the lead now 15.8, so it's still coming out. It's come out another 3 seconds since the last time I mentioned it, so that's really, really impressive from JBW Ringwood. He is really driving a point home here. He's not just...
Taylor Lane.
Oh yeah, Taylor Lane now going for... Adam Dodd.
No, for Josh Johnson, actually. As Ben Johnson, he has lost the place. Has he maybe? No, he's okay for the time being. But yes, he has actually lost the place to Danny Henny down in towards turn number 1. That was a case of, I know you're faster, I'll let you go. I'm not going to try and risk my race here. So Ben Johnson cedes the podium to Danny Henny, trying to just bring it home. Behind that, of course, We've
think
got
it was
this
a
battle
slowdown,
going on as
actually.
Taylor Lane's gone straight on, as you've just caught that, Caitlin, as they were side by side going through. Taylor Lane had dropped 2 seconds on this lap, mind you, and there goes the time, and that is a 4-second slowdown penalty at the final chicane.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a slowdown for Johnson as well that allowed Henny to get through. He managed to cut both of the corners in the chicane, so of course you're always going to get a lengthy slowdown for that. But anyway, indeed, plenty of slowdowns being given out today. That final chicane is very, very tough. And I thought coming into this one that it might decide the race. It certainly looks as it... And Lane's had another spin there. Lane's had another spin. He's got it sideways through... it's the accident black spot of the course. Turn 7, I think. And yeah, I think that's going to be his last chance of attacking Johnson gone.
I think that's the case, as Taylor Lane, of course, not having that aerodynamic grip to help through that corner, of course, when you're slowing down. So relying on the mechanical grip, looked like he took 2 takes into the corner, and the car said no going through there. But a lap and a half remaining, though, for JPW Ringwood at this moment in time, who has been absolutely faultless here in this race. You cannot put a foot wrong here in terms of what he has been doing overall. In terms of battles, though, out on track, there are very seldom few as we are coming towards the final lap then of this race. You've got Philip McDougall, though, on for 8th place, but he's got Jelle Peter Hoogland here for 2 laps to try and keep behind. Good work, actually, from Jelle to try and bring this race back in. Has definitely proven he's got the pace. Has taken 3 seconds out of him a lap at this rate of knots. So going through the next left-hander, wide goes McDougall, and that is pressure telling. And Jelle Peter Hoogland picks up the easiest 8th place that I think he's had in a very, very long time moving forward. Ed Lack has found himself onto the back of Adam Wright. This is another battle out on circuit that's going to be crucial as the white flag lap has started here, ladies and gentlemen. So Wright and Lack, they will be going at it all the way to the line, but it is worth noting right now that there will be a long wait for your GTE class leader, PJ Clysons, to get over the line, because Ringwood is not going to catch him in time to put a lap on him. But you've got to talk about how he needed this race after a poor Sebring. It looked like he was going to fall into the mid-pack. He would have said, I was going to fall into the mid-pack. He needed to practice. He said he needed more. He said he needed to demand more out of himself. And as he heads through the Lepangle corner, he knows that he has done so with a big, big flourish. And this will be a bright, shining circle, A+ on the resume for the way that he has driven this race. He has driven past some of the best that the LMP2s have had to offer. And now just the final chicane. Hold your breath. Knock wood for Ringwood as he heads himself through the final corners, past the wall of champions and onto the straight, because JPW Ringwood picks up his 2nd win of the season and picks it up with a big W here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Neil Andrews will be a long time coming here for 2nd place overall, as Louis Hanker will be confirmed 2nd. 3rd will be confirmed Morgan Thompson in your GTE category as well, which will mean the 2nd straight race will be a lap of honour, as you have an R at this point in time here, Caitlin.
And that was a nice formation finish there between Johnson and Andrews. The name of the team escapes me. CXR?
Yes.
Yes, they crossed the line side by side. Both of them taking good results. Class podiums with Andrews 2nd in LMBT. And here comes Lack now, 3rd, not 3rd at all. He's going for 6th in the GTEs and not getting it. So that's going to be Adam Wright's place there.
Yeah, that's well defended there by Adam Wright going over the line. That is how you defend the final chicane. Here will come PJ Clysons, though. He's had a lap of honour, but a 2nd straight race. That has been how dominant he has been once again. He's going to make it 4 straight wins now in this championship. We said at the start, form is temporary, class is permanent, and his class shines brighter than anybody else again. PJ Clysons romps home to another win in your GTE category. With pretty much everybody across the line now, let's get you official classified results then. Here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. JPW Ringwood, in an hour and 26 seconds, has walked by at a canter. His margin of victory nearly 19 seconds over Neil Andrews, and it's not often that you say that Neil Andrews loses by a margin that big. Danny Henney picks up the podium after a lot of controversy over the course of the race. Contact with Ethan Bass, lap traffic, put him into a few dramas. You've got in fourth position Benjamin Johnson, who had to let go of that place, with Adam Dodd in fifth and Josh Johnson, his brother, in sixth place. Taylor Lane is the last finisher on the lead lap in seventh, with Yellow Peter Hoogland taking a tow and an extra stop to finish in eighth place. Philip McDougall comes home in ninth. In terms of the other drivers, 4 laps down was Bill Krause, and then on top of that, you got Tony Baird, Matthew Carter, and Daniel Merchant, who didn't finish in your LMP2 division. Caitlin Penny stood by with results in GTEs.
Oh no, I shut the server. Sorry.
That's fine. PJ Clyson's picked up the win then, and did so at a canter, with Louis Hanker there in second position, with Morgan Thompson in third. Billy Fletcher ended up recovering to fourth and gaining positions, or gaining points, in his fight for second in the championship. Matisse Van Delden gets a top 5 finish come the end. Adam Wright fought hard for 6th place against Edward Lack. He managed to get that one working come the end, with Steve Hobbs in 8th position, having a very adventurous day at the office. Jonas Gillis, 5 laps down, did finish, but spent a lot of time in the pits. And then the 2 retirements in your GTE category, Ewan Marshall and Ethan Bass as well, moving forward. But crucially, though, in this series, we have got drivers, and a lot of drivers actually, sitting around and waiting for interview at this point in time. We'll get through them very quickly. JPW Ringwood first, of course, race victor overall for this one. And Jake, you know, we have to talk about that race in terms of just a perfect showing for what you needed. You'd lost the championship lead, and that was probably the right way to respond.
Yeah, no, it was, the car was awesome all the way through. Just kept getting faster and faster. I think we didn't really quite see what Tony Baird was capable of. He was a little bit faster than me in practice, but so I got quite lucky with that as well. But yeah, that was absolutely awesome drive. Yeah,
Well,
it was really fun.
Absolutely an awesome drive. Very fun. It looks like you had to pull away very much in the early stages then of this race, but all the work having to be done in the mid part through the traffic, which of course at a street circuit was always going to be incredibly difficult. Did you feel like traffic was any more difficult than what you normally had to deal with, knowing the fact that the circuit here is pretty much a lot narrower than you would get, say, at a European track or a regular fixed circuit?
Yeah, luckily in a way, GTE turnout wasn't too big tonight. But yeah, I mean, not only that, it's the GTEs aren't actually that much slower in the low downforce sections, which is most of the the corners on this track quite low speed anyway. So yeah, you do have to kind of hope they see you. But no, everyone drove really well, and it wasn't too bad. But yeah, there was not much room for multiple cars.
Well, not much room for multiple cars, but of course you do close down the gap in the championship. It's 2 wins apiece between you and Neil Andrews, but round 5 takes us to a track which knows all about speed and has a lot of similarities to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. So Monza, similar track, similar setup, just a case of just improving the car time and time again as you move on forward.
Yeah, I was using a Monza setup for this race, just a little bit tweaked. So hopefully it'll go quite well again at the next race. But yeah, can't wait now.
Well, definitely can't wait. Before we let you go here, JPW Ringwood, shouts out sponsors. Who gets it done for you?
Yeah, just like to say a big thank you to everyone who participates. Couldn't do without the grid turnout. We are obviously looking for a few more drivers. So if anyone fancies joining GT or LMP, there's a couple of spaces on the grid for both. Yeah, it'd be good.
Well, if you do want to get yourself involved, now would be a great time to do so. JPW Ringwood picks up a big race victory. Third position in that category went to Danny Henney, stood by with Caitlin Penny.
Indeed, Danny Henney, you did a wonderful job today. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can hear you.
Jolly good. So, talk us through your race. You had battles, you had excitement. How did it look?
It was solid, yeah. It was a bit touch and go at the start when we had the battle with Neil, and then Tony come in from behind and just tapped me into a spin. Bit gutted to have a bit of damage, but the car weren't too bad, and then it was just a fight back through the field, really. So the race flew by. It seemed like 10 minutes, but yeah, good fun. Nearly put it in the wall a couple of times. Had a good few battles. Did a a fantastic lick the stamp and send it on Adam, my teammate. So yeah, it was a good, fun drive.
I think pretty much everyone almost put it in the wall at times. I was interested in qualifying as well. You suddenly put it right between the championship contenders. Really spoiled their show up the front. Did that feel good? And were you expecting to be that fast today?
Yeah, I've been practicing with the lads the last couple of days. Guys are great. Only recently joined the team. Been good with sharing the setup, having a good bit of banter. Had solid pace. I weren't as close to Jake as I'd have liked to have been. And then unfortunately, I had issues with my Oculus just before the race started. So I went into qualifying actually not doing a low fuel lap. So that was actually my first lap I'd completed. So yeah, I was pretty pleased to be fair.
Wow, that's really, really cool. Well, it was a good one, and you went on to drive a good race as well. So well done.
Thank you very much.
And best of luck in future rounds as well. So back to Jake, who has another driver.
I do, and it's Neil Andrews who came home in second position. Neil, it's not often that we see you really struggle here in terms of gap to a race victor, but you have to say that JPW there was just one cut above today.
He certainly did. He gave us a masterclass on how to drive that track today. So well done, JP, for a great win. Yeah, I had a quite a entertaining first couple of laps. I could not get that car settled. So I had a lot of fighting the first couple of laps until the second lap, first corner incident. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy that race. But it was good though. Congratulations for JP.
Well, a case for you. You keep the championship lead, crucially, after the round here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But talking about how tough that race was, you're talking about how you struggled to keep the car settled. Did you feel like the track conditions today, being very cold, played a factor into the way that the race went for you?
It could have well been. And the tyres just didn't want to heat up at the start. So I was running medium. There's a few guys running on low downforce. So the guys behind, I had to try and pull a gap on the first couple of corners to give me that comfortable window just until the tyres warmed up. But I think first lap I touched the grass, outbraked into the second chicane slightly, and then had to fight into the last chicane and into turn one, which just gave JP that breathing window to put these laps down without any hassle. It's quite funny when you have no trouble fighting behind you. If you can just focus on your braking points and stuff, you can actually pull a decent lead. But yeah, I was struggling, but got the tyres warmed up in the end and just persevered with the car. Traffic was hard. Everybody was really good in the traffic. It was just the track and traffic combo. It can make it quite difficult. You have to be a bit patient and wait for your overtake maneuvers.
Patience will be the key again when we come back to racing in about 4 weeks' time. Of course, it's Monza next on the calendar. It's another incredibly quick circuit. Do you feel like the set at Monza is going to bear a lot of similarities to the set that you've been running here today and will be an evolution of that, especially here from Monza, which we're going to next, and then following that on with Le Mans?
Oh wow, 2 low downforce, high speed tracks. Monza Le Mans, 2 low downforce tracks. So 2 tracks that I do find very difficult. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens. And hopefully I just have a good race on the day, really.
Well, second position, it's still the championship lead, but crucially, it may be damage limitation for the next 2 rounds. Before we let you go, Neil, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you at CXR?
Well, just the CXR team. Well done to everybody on the team. Shout out to everybody there. I think we've got patiently waiting Morgan from the CXR GT cars. So I'll let you have fun interviewing him.
And that
Cheers,
we
guys.
will. So Neil Andrews there in second position, have a good time. And here is Morgan Thompson, stood by with Caitlin Penny.
So Morgan Thompson, you finished third in GTE, as you know, but it was an eventful race that cut you there, wasn't it? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Jolly
it was
good.
quite an eventful race.
You could say that. Fighting hard, of course, with Hanka, with Marshall, and with others the whole way through. Talk us through it, and do you think there's anything more you could have done, maybe?
I think there was a little bit I could have done. I could have probably got a bit more pace, but I tried just getting the consistency right in the practices and put my head down. I got tangled with a HPD as well, so that didn't help. I lost P2 because of that, so it is what it is. But
Yeah, we saw that happen, but anyway, you still managed to recover to P3, and a nice little formation finish with your teammate in the HPD class as well. Do you practice much as a team, and what does your team mean for you?
we practice all the time as a team. To be fair, we win and lose together, so it's a big achievement when someone else wins and someone has a bad day. So we just try to win with consistency, really.
I feel like you won as a team today, double podium for CXR, and yeah, thanks for the interview. Good luck next time.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
So anyway, back to Jake Sperry.
Yeah, some brilliant results there. Third place for Morgan Thompson come the end of that race. But crucially here, we bring to a close the proceedings that we've had here today at this wonderful circuit, Gilles Villeneuve. It is a testament to street circuits everywhere. It's so good as a street circuit. It's often not even considered as a street circuit, how good it is. But for the time being, a massive thanks, of course, to those who help get it done for us. Of course, a big thanks has to go for Jay Kennedy, who has helped with the graphics packages that we have seen. We've got more graphics packages available and ready and raring to go. But all that is needed is for you to come join us. Our prices are available on our Facebook page. You can go and like that at the moment, that of course being Forever Sim Racing. So make sure that you go and check out our Facebook page and make sure that all the likes are there. Of course, if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, YouTube as well. It's always nice, and more likes means that more people tend to see all of the things that are going on, especially in these difficult times. But of course, the music that you will be hearing and have been hearing, of course, is done by Violet. You can catch her album, Queen of Misfits, on Bandcamp and on Spotify, as well as a brand new album coming out very soon, which I do believe is going to be her volume 2 of Super Pony World. So make sure that you check that out as well. From Marco Barbanera on the cameras and Caitlin Penny, who's been my colour commentator, I have been Jake Sperry, and it was back to form for JPW Ringwood, a win which he so desperately needed, and by a margin like that, he will be smugly smiling as he will look towards 2 more circuits, knowing that the ball is very firmly in his court. PJ Clyson's once again showing it doesn't matter what the track combination is, what the balance of performance may be, that Porsche of his is absolutely one step above everybody else, and he's won another race at a canter. But Monza, it is always a case where you got to look at the opening couple of corners. It can cause some dramas. There is not many places where you'd rather race than you would at the Temple of Speed. We will see you in a few weeks' time for that one. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, we all are forever. Good night.
And here